So, my dad didn't go to school. It's just not for him. And me and my mom, we have gone to school. And my dad would be like, "What's the point of me going to school for? You want me to take up space?" Um, I've never pushed him for that. Some people are not made for that. But you see the phrase he uses, I would just be taking up space. I would just be there to be there because it's not what he likes and it's not what he's into. Taking up space has always had a negative connotation. So tell me why. Tell me why they decided to name that all female space trip taking up space. Who did nobody sit you down? Did nobody sit you down? Like it's getting to the point where I think South Park is gonna release a new season. So I love South Park. I got into it much later, even though South Park and I were similar in age. Um, but I didn't really watch it until I was like 19, 20, and I just devoured it. And so, I because of being in school and just being busy, I'll miss like seasons and then I'll come back and I'm like they never miss. And it's getting to the point though where it's like how can they accurately um what's the word? I hate when I blank. How can they accurately crap, I forget the word, make fun of something or ridicule something, exaggerate something when it's getting to the point where you can't exaggerate it. You know what I mean? Like, I see this as a sketch where it's like you have this fake brand of feminism. It's these women who, even though Aisha Bao, she's an actual NASA rocket scientist. I'm pushing her off. I'm putting her in like this beautiful little like, here, girl, you are right here, okay? She actually has done the work. She's incredibly intelligent. What she's accomplished. I ain't talking about her, okay? We're talking about everybody else. We're talking about everybody else that just paid a lot of money to do this. They bought their way in. Let's keep it 100. And the thing is that people insist on putting a turd on your plate and telling you this is chocolate cake, eat it. And then when you tell them, no, this is a turd on a plate, they look at you like you're crazy. Because those women have responded to the criticisms that people have been making. But what I'm saying is like I can totally see South Park making fun of like exaggerating, right? And like I could see the women and they're like showing all their camel toes, which they pretty much did themselves. And then I could see them like taking Lauren Sanchez's face and just making it extra like, science is great. She's done too much work on her face. I had to look up what she looked like as a young woman. She was a very attractive woman. Too much. You're gonna get old. It is what it is. You're gonna get old. You get to enjoy your time in the sun for a little bit, and then that's it. That's life is dark and it's bleak, but there's also lessons in the darkness and the bleakness. Stop trying to desperately cling on to your youth. It's not gonna happen, boo. It's not. She looks like she's becoming that lady who wanted to look like a lion. Like she's like this. And she's like this. It's let it go, boo. I don't know. I think she's like 50 something. Let it go. Like I think the thing too is like because she is with Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos could go to an island and he can kidnap 30 or something 19-year-olds and you would never know what happened. It would never reach the news because he has that much money and he can pay that much people off. And in the country and in the world, the most important color has always been the color green. Yes, racism, there's sexism, all of these things exist. But if you got enough of money, you can get away with a lot of things, okay? And that's the thing is like we know how much these women paid to go on this trip. Like it's just like they're gaslighting. It's like what are we even talking about? But yeah, I can't, I have no idea how South Park could skewer this, because that was the whole thing, is they would take something that was already ridiculous and they would make it that much more ridiculous to prove a point. How much more ridiculous can you prove this, or when they're up there, a lot of them were doing selfies that shows you just the vapidness and how much narcissism. You get to see a point of view that so few people get to see. You know what I mean? Like, how beautiful to be able to see the earth, to see the pale blue dot. And how disappointing. Carl Sagan got to go up there. He got to see it, and he that has been one of my most favorite speeches, where he talks about the folly of human conceit. And he talks about, like, this is the only place, Earth is the only place that we have known as home. There might be aliens, boo. There might be planets that are habitable. But as far as we know, we're it. That's it. Bada boom, bada bing. This is it. This is all we got. You know what I mean? And how cold and how callous of us to not see the abject beauty in the world that we have. William Shatner too. William Shatner got really, really sad, because I think William Shatner has always had like a bit of narcissism, and I think that he was humbled when he went to space. If you go to space and you don't fully realize the vastness of space, the fact that we are tiny, tiny little specks, and you are not profoundly humbled, you don't come back to this world and see just how useless and petty so many of our problems are, how idiotic and pathetic we can be. You didn't do anything. You did not do anything, and that trip was wasted on you. You know what I mean? Like, I saw them respond to some of the criticisms, and they're talking about the crew and like all of the engineers that it took to get them up there. Okay, they should have done a lottery, and they should have put some of those engineers up there. You know what I mean? Let them enjoy it. How do they not understand? Like, Katy Perry doesn't even have the same type of fame that she used to. You know, she's not. Most celebrities, this is the other thing, they're just so detached, and they just live in a bubble. They don't understand that we are getting to the it's time to eat the rich part. You know, there is such a huge gap between the haves and the have-nots, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. We're looking at genuine food shortages. You know, I took this from my friend Camille, but she's like, blueberries are $19.99. You know, she has kids, and they love kids. They just love blueberries. I think it's the color, and because it's like circular, it tastes good too. But it's true. We're getting to a point where it's like, why would you think we'd care about this? With everything being what it is, with all of the issues with what technology is costing, with them automating most jobs, so many mental illnesses keep going up, suicides are going up. Why would we care? Why would we care? You know, I think it's cool for Aisha Bow, or Bo, I don't know how to say it. I don't care about Katy Perry. I don't care about Lauren Sanchez. I don't care about Gail. What are you talking about, Gail? What? You know, I don't know Gail's net worth, but her best friend Oprah it's in the billions. Oprah could give away $500 million, and she wouldn't even feel it. She wouldn't even feel it. You know, people hoard their wealth. It is what it is. I'm not saying we have to live in socialism, but there have been so many reports that say they won't even spend this money in their lifetime. And again, I'm not saying that, you know, she worked hard. I'm not saying you got to give away all your riches, but it's like, if you want to be rich and you just want to keep that money for yourself, fine, but then don't expect people to not criticize you or criticize the people that are connected to you that also have a lot of money. You understand? Like, who cares? You've done nothing for us. We've advanced science. How am I going to pay for eggs? You understand what I mean? There are thousands and thousands of people, millions probably, who help advance science. I'm part of research studies all the time, baby. I'm in school, you know, whether it's completing a survey, whether it's conducting research myself. I'm advancing science in a very small probably insignificant way, but I am advancing science. So why should I care? If I'm not getting thrown a parade, why should I give a damn about you? And that's also a lot of work when people are trying to set up a research study, and they have to go through, I think it's IRB, the IRB, because they're a big pain in the ass. And sometimes going through the approval to do your study is such a pain, and sometimes people will overstep and they'll actually nitpick. Their job is just to make sure that the study is ethical. But sometimes though, I've talked to professors and stuff, and they've had to like get in touch with managers of or supervisors of people at I'm pretty sure it's IRB. I forget what it stands for. But there's like a whole system that you have to conduct to go through. I haven't done any full research on my own because I'm undergrad. I'll do that more in my master's. So then you'll know. Then I'll be able to complain. It's only been like adjacent, right? Or the research I've conducted has been very, very, very small, or like I'm barely a footnote on somebody else's research. I'm learning about coding and all this. But yeah, even with if the little stuff I've done, I've helped advance science. So what are we even talking about here? It's BS. It's BS is what it is. They went up there for bragging rights, so they could say, well, I went to space, because everything is becoming more and more meaningless. Lauren Sanchez can't even accept that she's aging, so she's clinging on desperately to her youth. So when you do stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? When your values or the things that you think have meaning are wrapped up in superficial things, you're gonna keep chasing these highs, these like experiences. It's the same reason like the Titanic submarine happened. Not only is life getting worse for us, life is getting worse for rich people. They're getting bored. I like this comedian. His name is Stavros. He's Greek. He's really funny. But he pointed something out that I always forget about. Back in the day with the Vanderbilts and Carnegie, we know their names because they would give us opera houses. They would give us libraries. Part of that is because they also used the city. It's where they would mingle. They also enjoyed the arts. They were a part of the city. So they're like, one, I'm going to keep the city looking nice. I'm going to throw them a bone. You want to keep people happy. But two, I also enjoy this, Now, rich people, it's kind of going back to, this is going to sound really gross, but it's going back to slaveholders. There's a huge reason why the South is as underdeveloped as it is. And it's because slave owners, they had all this money, and they were just very, very sustained on their plantation. They would have someone come and teach their child. They could bring a doctor to the house. They didn't have to put money in hospitals or in libraries because everything was on their property. So that's why the city is, so much of the South is so underdeveloped, right? Because human beings are selfish. They're like, I'm not going to go into the city. Why would I have to donate my money, right? And it's also why economically the South just never recovered. That's why everything is just so cheaper there. Infrastructure, that whole thing, not only the human toll of what slavery did, just it screwed everything up. So many different things. So now, kind of going back to that, history always repeats itself, baby. Amazon, I would never compare what workers go through now to what slaves went through in the 1800s. But the workers are not treated right. Those working conditions are not great. I had a friend work for Amazon, and they didn't want to get paid time and a half because they forced them to work on a holiday. And then what Amazon did, they started handing like gift cards out, and I told my friend, don't accept that. When you accept that, you can no longer negotiate. And he accepted it, and he couldn't negotiate. They do skeevy tactics. I don't have any politics in the sense of like, am I Republican? Am I Democrat? My politics is, I am okay if we take Jeff Bezos, if an angry mom takes Jeff Bezos and they put him, like, you know, like those pigs, like the pernil, and they put like a apple in his mouth, and they just rotisserie style him down in a tent city. I'm okay with that. Though allegedly, you know, comedy, parody, don't want to get in trouble. I'm okay with that. I'm tired. I am tired of these people. I'm tired of how grotesque society has gotten. Like, I don't care. I don't care. And it they're not able to understand what the culture is and where people are. People have been sick of celebrities since the pandemic. Since we had to watch big tractor trailers transporting bodies because morgues were at their capacity. And then you had these ridiculous people with their Imagine song. We have been sick of you. You have nauseated us. You have disgusted us. Since then, and it has gone further and further and further and further and further down. Not to mention that the people that you have nowadays lack talent, personality, charisma. They have to rely on over exaggerated costumes or makeup to make it seem like they're more interesting and entertaining than they actually are. People don't give a damn. And you know, you still have some people who are like, "Oh, I'm interested in this, da da da." But I've talked to some people in their 20s, and like, when it's just us, then they'll be like, the music and the movies, they're really not that good. We, at the end of the day, we know what's a good movie. We know what's not a good movie. You can feel it. You'll be entertained by it. You'll laugh. You'll cry. You'll feel things. It'll inspire you to be a better person. It'll leave you hollowed out and broken if you were invested in a character and you saw the evils of mankind. We don't have that anymore. We are struggling. And I did see somebody post, like, doesn't it feel like they're just testing out if they can save rich people when the world ends? Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like, right? Good luck to that society. Good luck to a society filled with Lauren Sanchez, Gail, and Katy Perry. Good luck. You know, Gail never really bothered me. She seems fine. But it's just like, if you're out of touch, you're out of touch. Good luck. See how long they last before they turn on each other and they start foaming at the mouth and then they start barbecuing each other. Please, they're vapid. They lack morals. They lack values. Let me tell you, I don't have kids, right? And I really don't like, I really don't believe in mom shaming or anything like that. It's a brutal job. It's a tough job. I don't know how women and men who dedicate themselves to being fathers, I don't know how you do it, okay? However, maybe not mom shame, but to bring up a point. Because Katy Perry, after she came back from the trip and she was criticized a bit, she was like, all right, back to the thing I love best. And she takes a picture of her daughter's lunch and she has a bread that's cut out like a star or whatever. People have died doing trips like this. There is a park not far from me called the Challenger 7, I believe. I believe that was the name, but it has the names of the victims who died. Okay? Her daughter's 4. That would be losing a parent at any age is difficult, right? As you get older, you start to build up the skills to kind of deal with it. 4? Her daughter is 4. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't risk it. I could not justify that, you know? I think Gail has a son, but her son is an adult and she has a grandchild. That, I think, is more reasonable. I think Lauren is a mom, her child is older. Okay. Katy Perry's daughter is 4. What are we talking about? I know of parents who get scared about how they travel just because they're just afraid because their children are so young and what would happen to them, you know? I don't That I don't know. One of my very, very good friends, she's an amazing mom. She doesn't realize how much of a great mom she is, but she had to climb a ladder and she freaked out. And she was like, if anything happens to me, take care of the kids. And she's calling her husband. And it's like, girl, you don't have to climb this ladder. Um, I'm sorry. I got, I know I'm a big softie, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like, there are people out there that are capable of just such profound love. Like, like I said, my friend was so afraid. It was a high ladder. She was so afraid to climb the ladder because it was like a little shaky, and she's like, if something happens to me, what will happen to the kids? You know what I mean? And Perry is willing to go into space, and she has a 4-year-old daughter. I don't know. I'm not trying to shame her or anything. I'm At the very least, her daughter has a lot of money, and she has Orlando Bloom. But at four is very young to lose your mom, and things like this happen all the time. So it's just like, it's very vapid. It's very gross. Um, it's genuinely sickening. Like, people can't even afford health care. It's getting to the point where I'm like, history repeats itself. It does feel like there's gonna be some sort of civil unrest, because it almost feels like they're playing, they're rolling dice. Like, how far can we push them? Snake eyes. How far can we push them? How far can we push these people until there's like a French Revolution nonsense, and they just say that, let them eat cake one too many times. I think a big problem is that we do have the internet, and we do have all these social apps and everything. I was doing so good with not scrolling and with deleting things, and like, the only app I have is Instagram, because my friends will do like events. They'll learn about events on Instagram, and then I gotta go there, and I'm like, crap, I gotta figure this out. Um, but yeah, every time that I get sucked back in, it's such an icky feeling, and it does. And then you're just scrolling and scrolling. It is highly addictive. So I think that's kind of pacified us. But I think it's gonna get to the time. I think it's gonna get to the point where it's like, it's gonna be. I seriously think what's gonna happen is, I know that there's a lot of issues culturally, and I think that's another thing, is they've worked so hard to keep everyone apart. And I made this joke with my friend Camille. I'm like, society is crumbling, and it's not because of the different groups of us on our economic level. It's them. There has always been a ruling class, and it has always been, we have always been separated by the haves and have-nots. They're getting rid of the middle class. We are all becoming peasants. It's getting dark out there, right? And I told my friend, it's gonna get to the point where we are gonna have to hold hands with a Nazi, hold hands with a trans person, and be like, it doesn't matter right now. We're gonna have to skip, and we're gonna have to go take care of these people, because, and these people, I mean the Jeff Bezos, the Bill Gates. Why is Bill Gates buying up all this farmland? They don't want us to be able to sustain ourselves. They want us to have technology planted. I feel like I'm on a street corner mumbling and talking to myself. And I'm like, this is how they do it. This is how they can get away with things. We've seen things. This is well known. It is well known that Bill Gates has been buying up farmland. We have seen the picture of Mark Zuckerberg where he has tape over his camera. We've seen him build a bunker in Hawaii. What are you building bunkers for? What do you know? These people have access to each other. These people are talking to each other. What are we doing? And I think another thing that keeps us away is how they've like demonized conspiracy theorists. We don't have to get into all that. We don't have to get into these crazy notions. We could just, do you know human nature? Yup. Do you know power corrupts? Yup. If you were very powerful and you didn't have morals and values, you didn't have friendship or love in your life, wouldn't you do everything to keep that in your power? Yup. I've been in public school systems, And I've seen like puppet masters. I'm like, this is a public school system. What are you doing? I've seen hierarchies, I've seen cliques. So if we can see it, if it exists on a micro level, wouldn't it exist on a macro level? And wouldn't it be more complex and just this one did that and this one's trying to do this and they could pay off the media? There's propaganda that does exist. I've discussed that in my social psychology class. All this stuff is real. You know, when people with schizophrenia have been like, birds are not real, they're robots, and then China comes out with, oh yeah, they've made a surveillance system and it looks like birds, and it's like, who's gonna apologize to the schizophrenics now? You know what I mean? Like, and I think there's a reason why people with schizophrenia tend to know that. They've been saying the government is spying on you, they are listening in on your conversations. All of those things ended up being true. And I think it's mental illness are social diseases, and schizophrenia is probably due to a very extensive amount of trauma, right? I do feel that way. I do feel like mental illnesses, it's probably not the only factor. There's also genetics, personal experiences, your personality, your own specific skill set. But I would say that the more severe the mental illness or diagnosis, it's likely to reason the more severe the childhood trauma behind it. And I think when you have been traumatized as a child, especially if you were traumatized by your caregivers, I think that opens up your ability to be like, well, if they can do it, why wouldn't the government do it? Why wouldn't people in these positions of powers do it? If my own family member can hurt their flesh and blood, why wouldn't the government, who has no connections or emotional ties to us, why wouldn't they do it? And I think that's why they're able to pick out this stuff and to be right a lot of the time. Again, doesn't mean that everything they say is 100%, but a lot of the things that have been deemed crazy have ended up being true at the end of the day. So maybe it isn't crazy. Maybe the truth is we live in a mad, mad, mad world, and the people that we deem crazy a lot of times have more reason and foresight than we'd like to give them credit for. And two contradictory things can exist at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. So somebody can be struggling in their day-to-day lives. They could be struggling with their ADLs, their daily living, hygiene, emotional regulation, but they can also have knowledge and wisdom, and they can have the ability to think way out the box and be critical and be right sometimes. All of these things, this can be true, okay? So yeah, I am very disgusted by the space trip, especially when I love Carl Sagan. I love him so much. The pale blue dot meant so much to me as a child, and there used to be a video on YouTube, and it was beautiful. I don't know if it still exists. It probably got copyrighted, but it was so magnificent because it was Carl Sagan saying the pale blue dot speech, his voice, and it was, all of the images were stills from movies, and it was just the person who edited it did such a fantastic, lovely job. And it was one of my favorite videos, but I haven't been able to see it in so many years, but I loved that video. And it's just very disappointing, and it's just gross. It'll be interesting to see how South Park skewers this. I don't know how you can make it more ridiculous. I don't know. I guess like show that Kanye like snuck on board with the Klan outfit. That might be hilarious. Just him with the Nazi propaganda. I took this because there's Nazis on the moon, or some nonsense. That's the only way that I could see that South Park could make this more ridiculous than it actually is, because it's so profoundly ridiculous as it stands, I don't know. What a waste. Like, you couldn't You know what would have been so much more entertaining, to be honest with you, and more meaningful? And I would have been 100%, is if they had gotten some flat earthers and they put them in there. That'd be kind of cool. Just to have the video and just to have them look like, to see, like, just to see their reaction, like, to see if some of them would, like, have a nervous breakdown. It's not flat. Or just to have them see, like, this is fake. That's not real. That would have been more entertaining. And that would have been, I actually would have had so much fun with that instead of this. Or, you know, just a teacher, just anybody else. Anybody else. I don't know, you know. A nurse or a doctor who saved people during the pandemic, just anybody else. Anybody. Aisha, she's a genuine rocket scientist. I don't have any qualms there, babe. None. Katy Perry's not even one of our top pop artists. You know? And I think, like, nobody else, I think everybody else read the room and they were like, no, I'm not doing that. At this, you don't see the room. You don't see, like, they don't see that the public is like, okay, we're very pacified by our Instagram, but they don't see that, like, the pitchfork is just right here. They don't see it, you know? They don't see that it's going to get to the point where eventually we're going to be like, so are we going to ride at dawn, yay or nay? You know, I'd be okay with that. I really would. There is no reason. The thing with them is, before, rich people, they used to do their little opioids, they used to do their little opium, they used to have their harem, and that was it. And then get your little stupid toys, that's it. The issue is that these rich people think that they can create a utopia. No, they're creating hell. They're creating hell. Because they're creating what they think would be a utopia for us, but they are outside of that. They're creating, like, it really is a brave new world. Everything that was in that book is coming out to be true. It is gross, and we're being bystanders. We're letting it happen. So at the very least, it does make me happy that we are speaking out against it, that we're cracking jokes. I do love seeing that. But I don't believe that that's the same as action. I don't really know if, when push comes to shove, if we would actually band together and just, you know, put some barbecue sauce on Bill Gates. Allegedly, parody. I don't know. You know? I'm okay with that, though. I'm okay. That is the politics I could get behind. Okay? If Bernie was like, I promise to flambe and rotisserie style the Rothschilds. Look them up. Allegedly, parody. I would love that. Do it. And then just hand out their money to us. Do it. They're making a world that is so bored for them that they have to go do space travel. Space travel has always been exciting and wondrous. But a big part, if things were really great here on Earth, they'd probably be less inclined. You know what I mean? It's getting to the point where it's not a sustainable life for them, and it's not fun for them. Go do some opium. You know, you got that weird, I forgot where he's from, but you got that weird guy who's like in his 50s, and he's like taking blood transfusions from his 19-year-old son, and he looks like a ghost. Like, he looks like a hollowed out ghost, and he's like, look at me, I look so young. It's like, you look disgusting. You're supposed to die. That's a part of it. You're not supposed to do this forever. You're supposed to have your time in the sun and grow, and maybe if you're lucky and you're honorable, you create some beauty for future generations to enjoy, and then you die, and then you go on. That's it. Yeah, it's bleak, it's dark, it's sad. It's a part of life. There is a lesson in that. There has to be, right? Or maybe there isn't. Maybe this is all for naught. Maybe. But I'm not trying to do this for millions and millions and millions of years. No, you know, and then because coupled with the beauty and the loveliness of this world, there's also suffering. There's also heartache and pain. And I think that the people who are like, I want to live forever, it's because they have not given themselves over to love, over to sacrifice, over to service. They have not done that. And so, of course, they want to live forever and ever. Everything's about them, 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 them. You know what I mean? When you give parts of yourself to other people, it takes something from you, and you get tired, and you realize you're like, this is beautiful, this is how I want to live my life, but I couldn't live like this forever. It's hard, you know? So I think a lot of these people just have empty, meaningless, hollowed out lives. They could stand to like watch some of the old school Disney movies. I don't know what we could do for these people. Get a friend, get a dog, get like a Highland cow or something, you know? Do something more with your life instead of like getting plastic surgery and taking your plastic tits out to space, or getting blood transfusions from your son, instead of building a beautiful, joyful relationship with your son and being like, yeah, now he takes on, and yeah, and my star is fading, but that's okay. This is a part of life. You know, even stars fade away and they die. Or sometimes and it is a combustion, it is a burst of energy. And you're just over here desperately clinging on to your empty, meaningless, hollowed out life. What are you doing? What are you doing? It's disgusting. I am disgusted. Eat them. Allegedly. Parody. Cook them up. You know, just bring. I. That's what I want to see. I want to see people fighting back. I want to see like in Spain when they had, I think it was the mudslides, and so many people died, and just the whole city, and nothing was getting done. And then people just banded together, and then you had one group of people that were like, okay, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be cooking, making food for everybody. And then you had another group of people, and they were doing the physical hard labor. Yeah, give me some of that. And then when the king and queen came, they were like throwing tomatoes at them because they were like, you didn't help us, you didn't do anything for us. Don't come now to take pictures and to do this publicity stunt. That's what I want to see. Put people in their place. Let them know, no, you don't put the hard work in, you're not doing nothing for us. No. The same way with these group of women. You haven't done the hard work, except Aisha. Keep putting her. You haven't done the hard work. You haven't done anything for us. You haven't benefited us in any way, shape, or form. Katy Perry with her stupid little tour list. Who cares? Who cares? It was pretty much, she paid $150,000 for her to go up and do a commercial for her tour. It's gonna backfire. They're not reading the room. Get a thermometer. Go talk to somebody. Like, read YouTube comment sections. Figure it out. The information is out there. Like, take your head out of your ass. Come out. Breathe the air. You know, the fact that these people could still, I'm pretty sure they exited the atmosphere, right? I'm pretty sure. You exited our atmosphere and you still had your head up your ass. What is your problem? I don't know. And when they pull out a jerk mango chicken salsa, a jerk mango salsa blend, okay, to put on Katy Perry, allegedly, parody. I will look the other way and I'll be like, no, you know what? And then I'll look and then I'll be like, you forgot that elbow. Put some more. Let it simmer. Let her sit in that for 20 minutes and then you can saute her. allegedly flambe. Then you can flambe her. You can bake her. Kidding. God damn it. You know? Sickening. I know this is a long video of me just being disgusted, but no, truly, you know? Truly. It's frustrating. It really is frustrating. Like, think of how profound. You know, how there are so many times where, like, I still, I still will make the effort to look at the stars. Like, I come home late from studying or something, and I'll just, like, look, or from the gym, and I'm like, oh no, like, no, that one's a satellite. I'm like, man, it's still, it should impress you every single time. The moon, just the sky, the clouds, it should still impress you. It is beautiful. It is objectively beautiful. And the fact that they got to go there and they got to see the earth, and they came back the same. I don't. I don't. Eat them. Eat them. Eat the rich. Parody. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this trip, ride, endeavor, merry-go-round. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you thought that I was being too mean. But I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, guys.